dragons, centaurs, fairies, vampires. I'm sure when I said those words, most of you watching will immediately recognize these creatures and can picture them in your head. From D&D to Final Fantasy, you'll hear them everywhere. Kappa, Dokaibi, Yokai, Jiangshi. Sounds familiar. You'll find these creatures less often, but East Asian mythology has been slowly creeping its way to the mainstream. Mostly because of weebs, I mean people inspired by East Asian culture.
Don't fuck with me! I'm the power of God and anime on my side! Wait!
Bakunawa, Tikbalang, Diwata, Aswang. If you aren't part of the few but vocal percentage of the audience that's Filipino, you're probably wondering at this point if I'm starting to pull these names out of my ass. But I assure you, these are very real creatures. Well, I don't know if they're real, but I mean like they exist. I don't mean exist on like the physical plane, but like theoretically in mythology. You get the point. Most of us grew up with these superstitions and creatures and these formed habits that I still find hard to shake. I'd yell tabi-tabi po to pay respects when passing by particularly spooky trees or big anthills in case some creature dwelled in there. I'd close my eyes every time we passed by a certain street in the city in fear of the white lady that supposedly haunted the area. They're practically everywhere if the superstitions are true. Well, everywhere except in popular media. Enter Good Night. Finally, some good fucking food. If you're a Filipino VTuber and Alex hasn't slid into your DMs yet with a copy of Good Night, are you really a PH VTuber? Just kidding. But seriously, he's everywhere. By the way, I did get this copy for free, but this video is not sponsored. I just think they're great.
You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking.
Good Night is a one-button, bullet hell special effects metal extravaganza that claims to be seriously butt-clenching. You play as a Spanish knight fighting creature after creature going through several layers of hell, inspired by Dante's Inferno. There is a vague storyline to be followed, but honestly it's a bit hard to connect chapters, flavor text, and dialogue when there's millions of skulls hurtling towards you every other second. While Good Night doesn't have millions of lines of dialogue and world building to fully flesh out Filipino mythos, it does an incredibly good job of depicting all of these through its visuals. From creatures such as Capres and Taong Lobo, to even prominent figures in Philippine history like the Spanish conquistador Magellan and Filipino hero Lapu-Lapu. You could tell they really put care into making sure they were represented well, but with their own cool metal twist. I personally like the interpretation of the Bakunawa the best, as I rarely see it interpreted as colorful and neon as it is here. That Manika boss is pretty swell too, but you could say I've got a personal bias. As for the stages, I'd have to say Chapter 3 would definitely be my favorite overall, other than the music being an absolute bop for this level. The stained glass and religious motifs were something I appreciated. The absolute irony and disconnect of having these shining white angels trying to kill you was definitely something I enjoyed. As someone with lots of Catholic trauma, it didn't feel that bad dying over 300 times as long as they kept throwing these really cool bosses and stages at me. Even the death screens were lots of fun, with over 100 different phases written just for it. Since I was a bit confused by the story, we reached out to the game devs to ask a bit more about it. For Alex, the game's story has two essential ideas, being a love letter for Filipinos and asking, what would a Filipino hell look like? Personally, for me, I think it's LRT1 at a busy hour, rush hour. Like, you walk in, you're like squished up against a sweaty Filipino man. Like, yeah, that's like the best. That's the best. That's just hell for me. He chose to use a Spaniard knight as the main character since the Philippines' own culture was influenced greatly by our colonizers. I love that irony. Love it or hate it that we were invaded, we cannot embrace our love for Filipino culture without embracing Spanish culture as well. The theme of Good Night is all about this conflict, this love and hate. I personally really like this take on history. While there's importance in preserving pre-colonial Philippines, it's important to acknowledge how intertwined our history is with the colonialism, and we should recognize that as part of our culture too. I don't have much experience with the bullet hell genre apart from Undertale, but Good Night presents a more unique gameplay not commonly seen in this genre. Rather than moving directionally, you use only one button to turn your character around and land hits on the opponents. It's honestly reminding me more of a rhythm game. I figured it out a bit later too that clicking to the beat of the music garners you extra points. I'm not much of a gamer to have a detailed analysis of the gameplay, so I asked my certified gamer friend and top of the Good Night leaderboards, Kroenyx, to talk more about the mechanics and how unique the game is.
Hey! So, it's me, Kroenyx, your friendly neighborhood assassin. I trust that she already walked you through with the basic premise of the game, so I'm just gonna tell you about the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. It's very simple. One button. All you do is change directions at a press of a button to dodge all sorts of things trying to end you. It also doubles as a means to get rid of the monsters trying to get you. Doing melee and shooting is completely unnecessary for the most part. Take it from someone who only used mostly melee when hunting from high scores. The puzzles were designed to make it possible to clear a whole chapter without getting rid of any of your attackers. You can also completely customize your experience with every chapter as it lets you manipulate all sorts of things. I'm gonna leave you to explore that, but let me tell you this. You haven't lived until you try the ×4 speed in any chapter. Trust me. All this experience packed in 4 different chapters of the game. Each chapter has 2 versions, Standard and True Hell. Standard is, standard, and True Hell is, it's basically standard with a lot of extra stuff to distract your eyes. I know what you're thinking. If that's the case, then I'm sticking to standard mode. Oh, you sweet, sweet summer child. You're required to complete the current chapter you're in and True Hell mode to move on to the next one. If you haven't caught on already, this game just likes to push you out of your comfort zone. If you're still with me at this point and still looking for more to test your limits, then let me introduce you to the final layer of mechanic in the game, the score multiplier. The score multiplier increases as you complete puzzles consecutively without resets. Every time you die, the multiplier effectively gets cut in half. So your potential for a high score literally gets Thanos-snapped in front of your eyes. It's about time you guys return to your regularly scheduled program, so they're all yours again, Mani.
I don't have much to follow up on that, but as someone who really isn't that good at video games, I appreciate this about Good Night, that it encourages you to keep trying. There are multiple messages throughout the game that tell you that it's okay to die a bajillion times to the same sequence. It's part of the process. It doesn't keep itself to only the most elite seasoned bullet hell gamers and encourages even big baby losers like me to try again and 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 just have fun and laugh at our mistakes. If you asked me honestly, with how bad I am at bullet hell games and, video games in general. Oh god, I'm out of block. I'm out of cobblestone. I don't even have...
NANI?!
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! I wouldn't have gravitated or tried this game out at all despite seeing it quite a bit because of how famous it's become among PHP tubers. It's thanks to Alex and the wonderful community he's cultivated that made me try it out despite myself. The devs have been so welcoming to me and the rest of the VTuber community, popping into streams every now and then, advertising streamers on their server, creating clips of PH VTubers, and even naming patches after VTubers involved in the community. Me, I got a patch named after me, and I suck at this game. They constantly keep tabs and interact with the community, gathering suggestions and implementing patch fixes almost immediately as they're found. I've never been in a game community this inviting and involved. It's perhaps the best advertisement an indie game could possibly have. It's only the beginning too, as the game is still in early access and there are several levels to be implemented and difficulties as well. The much awaited Filipino difficulty is something I am looking forward to, honestly. I'm hopeful that the community will grow with the game's development and we're able to see a Filipino-themed game reach past its primary Filipino audience. Like, it would be great to see this game become popular in the West and other places in the world that isn't just, Filipinos looking for representation. That's pretty much all I have to say on Good Night, the Filipino-themed bullet hell game. And with that, good night! Let me just say, it was such an experience researching and writing for this video because, again, the community is really great and the game devs were really open to questions. You can see the entire interview in its full length down in the description below. And thank you for watching this video!